We just witnessed one of the greatest draft classes of all times, and there was a lot of hits and there was a lot of misses. I'm gonna go over it, and I'm grading every team's first round draft with like an A to a like an F grade. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Washington Wizards, there's not too much to say here. They got an easy W. They got the first overall pick. They got AJ DeBonsta, one of the best scoring prospects we've ever seen, like since Kevin Durant. He can score at all three levels. He has a really good 3-point shot. It still needs some work in the next level, but I really do think he's going to be solid there. His mid range shot is elite, and he has some of the best touch around the rim I've ever seen in my life. And he's going to slot right into this Wizards team that really, really needed to be relevant again. I mean, DC has been struggling for a long time, ever since John Wall left, and it has not been the same. They've been the lottery, and now it's looking to have a competitive year next year, and they might even make the playoffs next year. So this is an easy A plus grade for the Washington Wizards. AJ DeBonsa was the answer. Same thing with the Jazz. You're going to see this for the first four picks pretty much. It's another A plus. Darren Peterson was a no brainer. He was a consensus top three pick, and he really does help with that backcourt in Keontae George and Darren Peterson alongside of him. He's a great off-ball scorer. He's the best shooter in this draft, like all-around shooter. He can shoot really like contested shots. He was being compared to Kobe going into the draft. He was like a fantastic shooter alongside Keontae George, Larry Markin, and that offense is going to be looking scary next year because he is so polished and good at such a young age that Darren Peterson is going to have like really solid impact as soon as he gets to the league. So I'd expect the Jazz to make some noise, maybe make a play in spot. The West is super stacked, so you never know how it's really going to go. But overall, it's an A plus for the Jazz. They really needed someone who was like their future star. Like getting a Kobe Bryant for your future is insane. For the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm giving them an A minus. Not the same as the first two picks. I think Cameron Boozer's pick is an A plus, but I'm also factoring in their future Kareem Lopez pick. But let's get back to Cameron Boozer, absolute elite. Same at level at the three of them. He's the youngest player in the draft. He is so strong and polished. I don't think that physicality that he has played with in college is going to go away once he gets to the next level. He can shoot, he can pass. He's just a really all around player. His rebounding is insane. And putting him alongside Zach Edey, because I do think he is more of a power forward than a center going into the NBA. Putting him alongside Zach Edey, we're looking at one of the best rebounding teams in the league in the future. And this team can be like really competitive at the start of the season because Cam Boozer is just an elite player overall. He's a really good floor raiser as just such a young player. I think he'll be easily the favorite for Rookie of the Year if any of you are interested in betting, not financial advice, by the way. But Kareem Lopez is what brings his pick down. I have nothing against Kareem Lopez as a prospect. I think he's really solid, and where he was picked at wasn't really a bad pick. But it was the fact that LeBaron Philon and Cameron Carr are both still available because I'm going to factor that into the grades as well. I think the Memphis Grizzlies should be trying to move on from John Morant. And if that's the case, you should also be picking up a guard for the future because they don't really have a lot of young guard depth. They have like Cedric Howard, Jalen Wells, Cam Boozer, Jack Edey as like their young talent. And I think it'd be really great for them to bring in another young guard like LeBaron Philon, who I think really suits like his vibe suits like I could see him in a Memphis jersey. And he did not get drafted there. He got drafted the pick afterwards, but I really do think like that's the pick they should have went through for because he is a lottery talent. At the end of the day, he was the best talent on the board. He also fit something that I think they should be moving for. So that's why I'm moving this grade down to an A minus for the Memphis Grizzlies. It's hard to move it down too much because you did get Cam Boozer though. The Bulls easily get an A plus, A plus, A plus for this draft. I mean, getting Caleb Wilson at 4 is a perfect way to kick off this new regime and rebuild. He fits in the mantra of your new GM and executive. This is just absolutely perfect for them moving forward. They can be a more defensive oriented team, which is what I think they're looking at. They recently acquired Nick Claxton. They get in Caleb Wilson, who has the best defensive upside in the draft, in my opinion. His physicality and the way he plays. He's really a Kevin Garnett 2.0. He's a little bit smaller than Kevin Garnett, but his wingspan and measurables are really solid. And he plays for the drive. In all the interviews you see with him, he says he wants to be the best player in this draft. He wants to be the best player in the league. And he's like comparing himself to Jordan. He's like, I'm coming out of UNC just like Jordan, and I'm like, I want to be better than him. And that's like a tall task. But having a player who comes in for your team and says that, and I really do believe he could be one of the best players we've ever seen in this league. I mean, the other three are just a little bit more polished, and that's why they went ahead of him. But I do think they all have around the same potential as like prospects. The others are just a little bit more proven. And then they also got Dalen Swain, who is an absolute amazing prospect as well. He has a lot of stuff to figure out, like the jump shot and everything. But overall, I think the Bulls can work on that and really have a really, really solid team for the future. Like people are talking about trading Josh Giddey because Dalen Swain is a larger forward that has a handle, but I don't really see him being a point guard in the future. He is really good to have a handle and someone who can get out and transition and be an insane athlete, can defend at a high level. He's a really solid player. And I think the Bulls just made all the right picks all around at the fourth pick and the 15th pick. I'm really excited to see how they play in the future with Matas, Caleb Wilson, Nick Claxton, Josh Giddey, and Dalen Swain. That's going to be awesome to see. This is the first pick that I didn't so much agree with because it felt like the Clippers were drafting for fit instead of like potential. If I was the Clippers, I would be considering the fact that no one is going to no one on the roster is currently going to take us to the promised land, take us to the championship. I think they're probably going to trade Kawhi Leonard. And so I give this draft a B because I think Keen Wagler, they picked him because of the size fit alongside Darius Garland. He was definitely not the best available. I think there's a couple players I would put above Keaton Wagler. Nothing against Keaton Wagler. I still think he's a fantastic player, but I do think that I'm unsure about his ability to translate to the next level. He lacks a lot of athleticism and ability to create space, and with the defense being harder in the NBA, a lot of those tough buckets that he's been making in college, which he did make, and that's the impressive part. He's a really, really insane shooter from skill aspect, but he doesn't really have that same ability to create space and get open for himself, which might be different in the NBA when he has another player like Darius Garland alongside of him. But I'm a little bit unsure of how what potential you can reach with that athleticism. He has been compared to Tyrese Halliburton, so obviously if you turn out like Tyrese Halliburton, you're going to be a great overall player. But I'm not sure if I really see that happening too much, and there is like definitely like downsides. Like not like sure he plays like Tyrese Halliburton, but not everyone is going to get to Tyrese Halliburton's level. But he does have a lot of great mentality things. So this could definitely change. This could definitely be a bad take of mine, but I'm just gonna give it a B for now because I do think Darius Acuff was better, and I do think Kingston Flemings was a better player. And if they're drafting for fit, I think they should have traded down and acquired Braden Burries. I think he fits a lot better alongside Darius Garland because Keen Wagler is also not a very good defender. The Nets are also a pick that I don't really like too much. I'm going to also give them a B for this because everyone in this range is still talented, so I can't go lower than a B really. But Mikal Brown Jr. has a lot of like injury struggles throughout the NCAA season, and it's really difficult for me to put him above Darius Acuff and Kingston Flemings, who I think are both better than him and have more potential than him. He's has some good measurables. He wasn't the best defender, but he does have upside there with his long wingspan. I think he'll be great to play alongside the Nets next season, but his health is a big concern, and I do think the other two players had upside. I know Darius Acuff was kind of pushing himself towards going towards a going towards Sacramento, so that's why maybe the mix up happened, and that's why they went Mikal Brown Jr. because they thought there was more upside. And I understand that a lot of people aren't super high on Kingston Flemings because of his measurables, but I do think Mikal Brown Jr. will be solid. He's a really, really solid 3-point shooter. He can shoot it lights out. He's going to be a guy that shoots like 9+ threes a game. Not maybe not in his rookie season, but like in the future if he develops into like the player that we all expect him to be, and he can create, play make, do everything you really need as a star point guard. And I do think the Brooklyn Nets still walked out with like a nice player, and they also got Joshua Jefferson in the back end of the first round, which is absolutely a solid pickup for them. He's a little bit older. I would love to see him go to a team that's more playoff ready, rather than the Nets, which are the opposite of that. And but he's a really solid, polished, large forward who can pass, play make, shoot, and really kind of do it all. And he's really kind of a do it all wing and very interesting prospect. And I love to see his mentality when he was sitting. He invited himself to the draft, even though he wasn't invited. He still went there because he knew he was going in the first round. And I really think that's a fantastic mentality to see from one of your young guys coming in. For once, this feels really weird saying, but the Sacramento Kings get an A+ for this draft. I mean, getting Darius Acuff, top 5 talent in the draft at 7 is really impressive. It's definitely someone you need. Like Darius Acuff is one of the most like surefire all stars in this draft, in my opinion. I don't see a world where Darius Acuff is not an all star. I really do view him as like the better version of Trey Young. He has like all the ability and shooting and passing that Trey Young had, but he also is a little bit larger and less of a defensive liability. While he is still a defensive liability, his size and like strength, I think, will make it less. Like Trey Young can literally just get pushed around by anyone in the league. He's one of the smallest dudes out there, if not the smallest dude out there. And Darius Acuff is not going to be that small, and maybe he cares more about defense when he's on a team that also has a defensive mindset, and like the Sacramento Kings build around that. But either way, his offense is absolutely amazing. He's a great 3-point shooter. He can shoot for all these 3 levels. He has a great ability to drive. He has a lot of like solid athleticism. He's strong. He's built. He can play make at a really high level, and he was just an absolute amazing freshman in college basketball. And I can't wait to see him out there for the Sacramento Kings running his own team because I think that's why he pushed himself to Sacramento. He wants to be running his own team, and I would pick Darius Acuff along with Cam Bruiser to be the favorites to win Rookie of the Year because Darius Acuff just is like he gives off that like Damian Lillard rookie season vibe where he can go out there and score 18 points per game and give you like 4 or 5 assists. Like he really is that impressive of a player and polished of an offensive player already, and I'm excited to see how he develops in the future. But they also did get Alex Caravan at the late lottery, which I don't really love for the Sacramento Kings. I would have loved him be with a more competitive team. Alex Caravan is like a really, really solid role player going into the NBA. I don't really see him being anything more. And, I guess it's good to have for the future. Like once you start being competitive, maybe get like Alex Caravan is in his peak of a role player. But I don't know if the Sacramento Kings will ever even be competing ever again. Even with Darius Cuff, they'll probably just trade him. But I still give them A plus for this draft. Another A plus in this draft. I mean, I'm just handing them out left and right. A lot of these teams drafted really well this season in this draft, and getting Kingston Flemings at 8, and also getting Zuby Ejiofor at the end of like the first round is really really good value for the Hawks and addresses what they really need. I'm really glad they didn't go with a Daymar here because Kingston Flemings really fixes a lot of the issues that they had in the playoffs with their offense. CJ McCollum can only do so much, and he's getting older. He's not going to be with you forever. And having a player like Kingston Flemings who can be mentored underneath CJ McCollum and who's already a really polished player, he has a great mentality. Like he defends with a purpose. Like he plays defense even though he is small. He has smaller frame. He defends really well. He has a great shot all around, mid range 3-point shot, and he's very quick, small, has a good handle. He can drive and he can create like a lot of like playmaking. I mean, I've seen like a tons of interviews with him, and he's very smart, very calculated, and I really do think he's going to be an amazing player at the next level of the league. He's one of my favorite players in this draft, and I can't wait to see him play for the Hawks. And like that really does suit him, and he can be like impact day one. I mean, he's just all about winning, and then getting Zuby Ejiofor, a defensive like intimidator that can really help with what the Atlanta Hawks lacked with like their physicality and everything. Like I feel like Zuby Ejiofor could have contained Cat a little bit better than Onyeka Okongwu did. I wish they did address like some of like the other bigs. Like they need a larger big than Zuby Ejiofor. I believe he's a little bit smaller for a center. He does lack a little bit of size, but he does have a lot of defensive presence and he's really strong. So I do think he'll be good for the Atlanta Hawks coming off the bench. But Kingston Fleming just has amazing upside, and I can't give him anything but an A plus here. This is my opinion, the first bad pick of the draft. Like I didn't agree with the Keen Wagler or the Mikael Brown pick, but I don't think they were bad picks. This pick was bad. The Mavs picking Morris Johnson at number 9 is absolutely criminal. I think Morris Johnson's a really solid player. He has like some really solid defensive upside, but I think alongside Cooper Flag, you should be looking for your young star to develop alongside of him. And Braden Burries was on the board. I really do think that they should have went with someone with like a little bit more upside. I mean, Morris Johnson, I have no doubt, will be a really good player in the NBA. His offense is just like I'll never see him. I don't ever see him being an all star or anything like that. Like I'll think he could be an all defensive player, which is really good still, but I don't ever see him being an all star. And I think that's what you should be drafting for because I don't think you're going to get much top 10 picks in the future if you're the Mavericks because you have Cooper Flag on your team. So I think you really need to capitalize on this strong draft. And Braden Burries was right there, one of the best scoring talents we've seen in this draft. And he would be a great off ball scorer with Cooper Flag as like a lead playmaker in this team. And I really do am disappointed with the Mavericks to make this choice because I was really excited to see who the Mavericks were going to pair up alongside with Cooper Flag going into it. And I can't help. Is it really about like was this really because of the new coaching? They hired the coach from Michigan. Is that why? And if that's the case, that's just really stupid to me. And I really don't like this pick. I give this pick a D. Morris Johnson should not have gone number 9. They did pick up Sergio De La Vega at the end of the draft. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I don't know a lot about the dude, but from what I've heard, he's a really solid shooter and playmaker. He's a large point guard, so maybe there's some upside with that. He's from Spain, I believe. So I'm not sure how that's going to really translate. They do play a bit of a different game out there, but I'm really excited to see how he develops. I think he brings this up a little bit because I was very upset when I saw Morris Johnson go number 9. I really wanted Braden Burries to fall to the Mavericks, and he did fall to the Mavericks. They just didn't pick him. I give this an A for the Milwaukee Bucks for this draft. They got Nate Ament and Braden Burries. I know people say a lot about Nate Ament about how they don't like him, but he's a raw talent. He's a prospect that's meant to be built up, and he does have a good solid foundation. He has a shot which may not be the best shot in the world, but he does have one that can be developed. He has a decent passing feel. He has a lot of guard skills, and is 6'10" with like a 7-foot wingspan. And if you can get him to be someone who really cares about the defensive end of the ball, someone who can play make, get in transition, and can develop that shot more and even build up that frame and be a better finisher around the rim with his size. He's still getting used to it. He had a late growth spurt, but I do think he's very raw talent. And I think the Bucks. The reason I love this pick for the Bucks so much is because they have Taylor Jenkins, and Taylor Jenkins' development staff has always been really great. I mean, we saw the Memphis Grizzlies pick constantly around like the close to the second round or around the second round and develop really solid talent with their rookies every year. And a lot of that I do credit to Taylor Jenkins and his development team. So I think no matter what, Nate Ament will be a solid player in the NBA because of that. And then Braden Burries is just a fantastic scorer. I mean, I really do love him. Been compared to like a Derek White. He's not a defensive liability. He can shoot really well. He's one of the best off-ball players. He'll take a lot of pressure. I don't really ever see him being like a first option in the NBA, but I do really see him as a really solid second option, like someone who could be like an all-star, scoring like 22, 23 points per game, shooting really well. I mean, he was just a phenomenal shooter in the draft, and he definitely deserved to go to the Mavericks. But the Bucks do get him, and that's perfect for the rebuild. And what's great about these players, and Nate Ament and Braden Burries, is they don't have to be the main offensive focus right away, and they can work on developing themselves. Like Nate Ament doesn't have to worry about leading a team. He's not going to be number one on the scouting report. He has Tyler Hero and Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez on his team, Ryan Rollins, so he can actually develop alongside them and learn how he fits in the NBA. And I do think there's a lot of upside with him still, based off his size and measurables. I'm giving the Warriors an A, maybe a B plus. I feel very iffy because I love Yaxel Lendenborg. I think he's a fantastic player, probably one of the most NBA ready players in this draft besides Cam Boozer. And I'm really excited to see him play on the Warriors. I think it's going to be awesome basketball. But I don't agree with the timeline that we should be trying to get Steph to win in the Warriors jersey because I do think that they're with the league getting better, OKC's getting better, and the Spurs are getting better. There is no real window to me for the Warriors to succeed. I understand, like you look at the Knicks last year, and it's like they weren't expected to win, but they still did. But the West is just a different monster. The East, like overall, they had to go through the 76ers, the Atlanta Hawks, and then the Cavs. I mean, that's just not the same as the Warriors going through the Nuggets, the Spurs, and OKC. It's just not the same. I mean, obviously the Knicks were a great team and everything, but it's just not the same. And the Warriors, I don't really see a room for contention. I do think Yaxel Lendenberg has potential to be a really solid player in this NBA. I think he will be, but he's one of the oldest players in this draft. He's really polished. I do think he was a lottery talent, and I don't mind him going to the Warriors, which is why I give it like an A. But I don't know if they're really. I don't know what this pick really means for the future. If they're gonna like start trading picks away and trying to get like a contention around them, because I just don't see the pathway for the Warriors for them to contend. And I do love Yaxel Lendenberg. I mean, he's the closest thing we're ever going to see to LeBron and Steph Curry playing alongside each other. He is an absolute unit, athleticism wise, size wise. He played like a man amongst boys in college, and I'm really excited to see him alongside Steph Curry. And I love him. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. I have so many favorite players in this draft. This draft is just amazing, and I'm excited to see him play alongside Steph Curry. And I do still think it's a good pick. OKC has a clear A plus again in the draft. I mean, this is just absolutely insane that everyone is just letting them run the league. Like OKC drafting a Daymar and Bennett starts addresses two things that they really need. OKC last year got beat by the Spurs in 7, and a lot of that was because they couldn't contain Wemby a lot. Chet Holmgren, he did what he could, but that man scored like what 2 points in an elimination game. Isaiah Hartenstein did what he could, but he's just not tall enough. But they got the largest guy in the draft in a Mara, and that's where a lot of the A plus comes from. Getting some dude who's 7'3", who was like a future iHeart replacement. Imagine a starting lineup with Chet and a Mara in the back and then in the front court. That's absolutely insane. A 7'1" and a 7'3" guy. I mean, and he also has great passing feel. He really does play a lot like similar to Isaiah Hartenstein. He can pass. He has a lot of like solid post moves around the rim. He's an elite rebounder just due to his size. He could work on building up his like physicality a little bit more so he doesn't get pushed around as easily. But I do think that's something that's obtainable. And they just recently signed Isaiah Hartenstein to an extension. So I do think that like they'll have a Daymara like up until Isaiah Hartenstein is out of the rotation for the Thunder, like either traded or signed somewhere else. And a Daymar will be able to pick it up and like hopefully by then he's a little bit more polished. And I think he can compete and just be another big body they could throw at Wemby, which is their main concern because I think OKC is pretty confident with their current roster. They can compete with literally everyone in the league, but the one team that can really give them the most trouble is the Spurs. And then getting Ben Sturts, the probably best 3-point shooter in the draft. He's a senior coming out of Iowa, I believe. I watched it a little bit, but I do get Iowa and like Illinois and all that confused. So I think that this is the clear Isaiah Joe replacement. He's the best 3-point shooter in the draft. He can play really well in pick and roll, and I think they're going to use him really well coming off the bench as a player who can just light it up for them, and that's something they really needed. Like I think he could be a better version of Isaiah Joe. So overall, I think we're looking at two players that could be better versions of their replacements. Like Ademar could be a better Isaiah Hartenstein, Benesters could be a better Isaiah Joe, and I think that's just perfect for them to bring that in as a clear A plus, and it's going to be very dangerous for the league. And I do think looking at OKC like draft is like, dang, they really never mess up, and just another A plus. The Hornets get an A minus for me. They get Hannah Steinbach and Christian Anderson. I do think the Hornets lacked a lot of physicality last year. I think getting Hannah Steinbach, a physically imposing physical player, is really, really solid for them. He's a larger player that could play alongside Musa Diabate, get you a lot of rebounds. He's very young, very polished for his age. He's really someone I think could help with that physicality. He's not the best defender, but he could definitely figure that out at the next level. He's still very young and, needs to work on that polish. And he's someone who could be a 4 or 5 at the next level. Probably will play mostly 4 at the beginning of it and has a lot of upside as a young player. I think he's great to get him like at the end of the lottery at number 14. And then getting Christian Anderson, another player who's a solid decision maker, one of the best shooters in the draft and a really good value for a number 18 pick. But I do think I bring this grade down a little bit because I don't think any of the picks they made were wrong, but I have to factor in again that LeBaron Philon was on the board. LeBaron Philon at number 18 was on the board still, and I would have, especially if we knew they were going to trade LaMelo Ball. If they knew they were going to trade LaMelo Ball, I think LeBaron Philon is just a better person to orchestrate your offense for the future, a lot better than Kobe White and Christian Anderson, in my opinion. And so that's why I bring this grade down. But I do think these are really solid picks for the Hornets in general. The Pistons trade up to acquire Abuka. I'm Abuka Okori. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I butchered it. Sorry. But I do think that's an A plus. The Pistons needed another creator, scorer, processor to play alongside Kate Cunningham, and this is definitely someone who could be like a six man, one of the best six man of the years. I really do see him like running an offense off the bench. He does have potential to be a starter as well, and I don't want to write that off for him. But he is a little bit smaller, and Kate Cunningham is their starting point guard unless they run Kate at the two. I don't really know if they'll want to do that, but off the bench, he'll be a really solid person who can run their offense when Kate is off the court. He's a really quick processor, really quick player, and he can just score first player who creates a lot of opportunity for others around him. And I'm really excited to see him with this Pistons roster because a lot of the trouble that was with him was his small frame. But the Pistons have such a great defensive unit built around them that I do think that it'll cover up a lot of the issues that Ibuka does have with his game. And I'm really excited to see him play for the Pistons next year. For the Raptors, I'm giving them a C plus. Alan Graves, I love Alan Graves. I spoke really well about him before the draft. He's one of the better players, role players. He can kind of do it all. He's a large wing. He's great size. Really the perfect role player in the NBA. But I have to factor in again who's on the board. Cameron Carr and LeBaron Philon are both on the board. And I just looking at the Raptors, I don't think you can look at that team and be like, yeah, Emmanuel Quickly will take us to the promised land. That's your point guard for the future. I don't see Emmanuel Quickly as that. And I really do think that they should be trying to bring in a LeBaron Philon. I mean, I know I keep saying that with every team, but I was really bewildering to watch this NBA draft and see that LeBaron Philon fell. This guy is an absolute bucket who can is a really smart processor, and he would be perfect alongside the Raptors because even though he's small, like his defense would be covered up by a Scotty Barnes being on your team, like an absolute defensive unit. And then maybe Alan Graves is their replacement for RJ Barrett, but at the same time, that's not as much as a problem for the point guard position. I'm giving the Spurs a B for this draft. What I think they're doing is really scary if you just consider it. A lot of their issues last year was that their big rotation was like meh. They had Luke Cornett, who I think is a really solid backup center, but he just also doesn't compare to Wemby. And them drafting Jaden Quaintance and Terrence Reed, I think just shows that they're really thinking about that big rotation. And Jaden Quains is one of the best defenders in the draft, if not the best defender in the draft. And having him as like a 7 footer who can come off the bench and be defensively alongside Wembanyama is absolutely insane. I mean, he's really really good defensively. He's 18 years old. He's huge. But the reason I have to give this draft a B is because he's very injury prone. Like I do see a world where Jane Quains is out the league in like 4 years because he just can't stay on the floor. I mean, there's reports out there that he's going to miss his entirety of the rookie season, which is just not a good sign. I think Terrence Reed's a really solid pickup because he's a big, large enforcer that can come off the draft and be like your third string center. But Jaden Quains is just like an absolute insane unit defensively, and I think that'll be really solid for the Spurs if that does pan out, and it could be really scary. But I do see a world where it's not pan out at all, and that's why I have to bring it down to a B. Easy A plus for the 76ers. They get LeBaron Philon, a lottery talent at number 22. They really did need some off the bench creation for the team. It's a shame for me because I would love to see LeBaron Philon go to a team that actually needs another guard rather than the Sixers who already have like a full backcourt and VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. I guess in the future, VJ Edgecombe potentially could play the three, but that's a really small lineup. And I would love to see LeBaron Philon like rock out for a team like the Raptors, like I said before. But really, really solid. I mean, playing for Alabama, LeBaron Philon in his second year showed everyone like why he was like a lottery talent. He played super, super well. Great shooter, great like pick and roll player, great processor. He's been compared to like a Mike Conley, and like he's just really, really smart and he can shoot very, very well. And I do think this is my favorite player in the draft, LeBaron Philon, and I really do need. I'm very excited to see him play for the 76ers. I'm definitely going to go to a game and go see him in person. Get a LeBaron Philon jersey. I love getting my favorite rookies jersey every year. And I'm very excited. I can't wait to see LeBaron Philon play, and the vibes are going to be immaculate. The vibes of LeBaron Philon, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe, vibes are going to be insane. Yeah, it's going to be one of the favorite trio guards of all time. RIP Jared McCain. He didn't die, but he's in OKC now. But you know, I'm excited to see it. The Lakers get an easy A+ value for this pick. I mean, getting Cameron Carr at number 24 is absolutely insane in this draft. Cameron Carr has great defensive upside. I mean, he was lighting it up in the draft combine and throughout college. He's just an absolute insane talent defensively. A lot of people expected him to go in the lottery, and he also falls to the Lakers, which is absolutely perfect for them because they did need athleticism, defense, and just like younger star power coming into the league. When besides Luka and Austin Reeves, who I not very high on as a duo, they do need another like a wing who can be defensive minded, who can also contribute to the offense. And alongside Luka Doncic, he can make an impact today because his offense is not going to be that bad, and just his measurables and just size and frame, I do think he'll be an impact defender. And I think in the future he could be an all defensive second team type of player, maybe even all defensive first team. And I'm very excited to see him play with the Lakers because I do think Luka Doncic can unlock it. Easy A+ for me. I think for the Boston Celtics, this is another A+. I mean, getting a player who really fits your play style, a large forward center who can 3-point shoot at a really high level. He has a lot of development to get into, but the Celtics are a really solid organization. I think they could help develop him, and getting him at like the pick 27 is really, really solid value for them. And I'm excited to see what they do with him because he could be a really solid role player, or he could even be like an all-star level player. Like I really do see him being like a really solid 3-point shooter, especially alongside the Celtics, who are really good at developing that. And then defensively and size wise, he does help them a lot, which is something they definitely need. So A+ for them. The Suns trading in to get Koa Pete is an easy win for them. I think they really did need a power forward for the future, and Koa Pete at 30 seems like really solid value. He has a lot of upside. A lot of people thought he should go back to college, get a little bit more polished, but he does have so much like physicality and power to him that is very exciting to see alongside the Suns, who are kind of entering a more physical defensively zone for their future. And I'm really excited to see how it pans out for them with Kobe because he's a huge dude. Like he's one of the biggest dudes I've seen. Like watching him play, like I do think he has a lot of upside. I think he could be a really solid starter in this league, and pick 30 is great value for that. And the Suns really did a great job trading into this draft to get him. All right, well that was my gradings of the draft. Let me know what y'all thought. Give me your takes and opinions, and thank y'all for watching. Peace.